Thank you very much, and welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for making it to this very significant session of ours. I'd like to call my panelists, my esteemed panelists, please. Come on stage. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me today emerging space nations from Slovakia, from Azerbaijan, Angola, South Africa, and Poland. You know, before I ask them to introduce themselves, I want to say something. Something is coming to mind about emerging space nations. Umhlekazi over there, I call him Mhlekazi. He usually says, Asanda, oh, Mesangone, why are we still emerging? After so much investment and capabilities, why are we still emerging? And you know, a simple answer to that is that the world wants us to have satellites in orbit. Not only have them, but then also the world wants to love these satellites of ours. They want to derive value. When the world has put those satellites of yours in that status, they really begin to, you know, trust you and take you out of that emerging space. And also, furthermore, the world also wants you to have an opinion about the moon. They want you to have a plan. And they also would want you to have somebody, a native, you know, be in space. So because we have not yet reached that, we'd like to really comfortably still be, you know, embracing this emerging status that we've been given. So without further ado, I'd like then to ask my colleagues then to introduce themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Asanda, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michal Brichta, and I'm Director of the Industry Branch of Slovak Space Office, which resides under the Ministry of Economy and more in particular Slovak Investment and Trade Open Agency, which a little bit hints on what is our focus when it comes to approach to the development of the Slovak space ecosystem, being strongly linked to our industry and to the pragmatic motivation factors of the space ecosystem development. So we consider ourselves emerging space ecosystem, even though that Slovakia has decades of experience when it comes to space. We started already in 1970s with first scientific payloads involvements with our scientists. We do have a strong IT sector and also not too small number of space companies now reaching almost 50. So there is the strong development, which as we know when we often discuss what it actually means, emerging space ecosystem, the dynamic development is one of these factors showing that the country is striving to foster its space ecosystem, striving to grow its ecosystem, yet we are still, of course, facing many challenges like the other emerging space ecosystem, and I'm happy to be here today to discuss these challenges and these opportunities together with the great panel.
Thank you, Michal.
Good afternoon, thank you, Asanda. I feel privileged really to welcome all international space community as a host country of International Astronautical Congress Baku chapter. I hope you enjoyed the Congress and have some time to explore the city. I have joined Azercosmos 5 years ago in 2018, and I would like to give a brief information about what our agency does in Azerbaijan. We started as a satellite operator in 2010, and we have 2 telecommunication satellites on orbit. We do have several directions, yet it will Earth observation services, data or video services, and also other agency functions. We have a bit unique structure because we have two hats. One is satellite operator, another one space agency. And we have been granted agency functions in 2021, and we are also operating under the Ministry of the Digital Development and Transport. I would like just to give very brief information about what kind of international collaboration we are doing at Azure Cosmos. Statistically speaking, currently we are cooperating around 200 companies from 42 countries, and 90% of revenues is being generated outside of Azerbaijan, and it shows how we are internationally oriented organization. So currently we are doing several directions, and we believe that one of them also will be to strengthen space ecosystem in Azerbaijan, and also to develop a new strategy that we'll be talking later. Thank you.
Well, Sandra, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Well, my name is Osvaldo Porto. I'm from the Angola Space Agency Management Office. Well, actually, I'm here on behalf of my general manager, this guy, Dr. Zola, that you see in the panel. I know that a lot of people on the panel came just to see Zolara. Well, but we share actually the same thoughts when it comes to space initiatives. Well, we are an embryo country in space sector, let me say in that way. We've started our space program in 2013, and we have currently achieved meaningful results, I can say. Well, we faced a lot of failures during our space journey. Let's say that we lost a geostationary satellite in 2017, and that was one of the most difficult moments for an African country to start in the space industry. As you can imagine, the space industry is very expensive for those countries. And we've learned a lot during that 10 years. Successfully last year on October, we launched our first geostationary satellite, and we are now selling the capacity. We feel actually the support of all the region, all the global support for our, let's say, for our achievements. And what we're doing currently is looking more at the Earth observation services, looking at how we can leverage on Earth observation, how we can provide solutions for a lot of problems we have at the country level and also at the regional level. Well, we pretty much understand that entering the space is not cheap, especially in the traditional approach. So the first thing we did is to understand how we can bring together our ecosystem. And this is the key point we have currently in Angola, because everything that we gathered so far was at the agency level, let's say coordination level, with the support from the government. But when it comes to the private sector, we are still very weak, and we understand that we need to enforce our ecosystem. That's the reason why we are also in line with the World Space Week, organizing an event to welcome the private sector from across the world. Thank you very much, Asanda.
Thank you very much, Osvaldo.
Thank you, Asanda, and good afternoon to everybody, my fellow panelists as well. My name is Umbrani Mdau, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the South African National Space Agency. We've just recently celebrated our 12th year anniversary in April, but that doesn't necessarily tell you the story about South Africa and its involvement in the space program and supporting a number of global missions and contributing as well in the global body of knowledge when it comes to space. When you look at the downstream or the Earth observation, where we've played a critical role in the creation of the Group on Earth Observation, GEO, which is charged with building the global Earth observation system of systems. But coming back to SANSA, it's an agency that was created in 2010 by an act of law in South Africa, and our mandate is very clear. It's to coordinate all space-related activities in South Africa, as well as building the South African National Space Program. We do so by clear objectives that we've been given, which is to ensure that we build an environment that's conducive for industrial development, build research, development, and innovation to ensure that we create opportunities for South Africans, for industry development. We also are charged with ensuring that we build, of course, infrastructure that's required to support the National Space Program, including building human capital, which is critical to have a viable and a sustainable space program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Legas.
Well, Polish Space Agency, Polsa for short, is a relatively young agency created in 2014, but our interest in space is much longer. We have organized International Astronautical Congress for the first time already in 1964. So for most of you in the audience, your parents have not met yet. But modern era of Poland in space began 11 years ago when we joined European Space Agency. And since then we have launched 16 satellites, mostly for scientific reasons or to test some technologies. But we participate in about 80 missions of ESA and NASA, providing different kind of instrumentations. But now we increase significantly our contribution to ESA, and our ambition is to build our own missions, our own satellites. We also plan to send the second astronaut, because 45 years ago, Mirosław Hermaszewski, our first astronaut, went to space, but now we hope to have a new one going to International Space Station in 24, maybe 25. So our ambitions are growing, and therefore we are bidding to organize IEC in 2026 in Poland.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jarosz. There is a school of thought that says that because the more developed space nations, the more ascendant nations have done it all. And why are emerging space nations venturing into space? Why are your nations venturing into space? You can, yeah. Thank you very much.
I think the answer to this question can be both specific and also somehow uniting, because it's probably in most of the cases a combination of what you can do and what is your aspiration. So a combination of potential and motivation of each country. But at the same time, in each country, the answers to these two questions are very different. So there can be a country which has really some strong scientific heritage. There can be a country which has strong, for example, sector in software development. There can be a country which has, let's say, very powerful young entrepreneurial ecosystem, and these all small parts can be united into the newly built space ecosystem. So each country simply has to, at the first very stages of the ecosystem development, think and analyze what potential it has and how the ecosystem can be built, and that also pretty much then shows the way in which direction the ecosystem can go and what the country can achieve. And at the same time, there is the other angle in which to look at it, and that's the aspirations of what the country would like to achieve. Is it that the country would simply like to have a high technology sector that is today basically pillar of knowledge economy to be more strongly represented in the industry? Is it that the country seeks security-related solutions? Is it that the country seeks environmental solutions? Or is it that the country simply wants to inspire younger generation for STEM career and to attract it to technological sciences? So these are the questions every country has to answer.
And for Slovakia, what is that?
For us, it's, I would say, a very broad combination. So when it comes to the potential, and in our case, it was a combination of the R&D heritage, of the related technological industry sectors and terrestrial sectors like software and IT, high precise machinery, electronics, etc., which are very strong in our industry. And at the same time, it was the entrepreneurial spirit, which we can see growing every year. And as for the aspiration, it's of course still evolving as the country starts developing the ecosystem, but at this point, as we approach things, it's very pragmatic. So we want to give our companies good opportunity to be part of the space economy and to have access to the technologies and the opportunities it brings. And at the same time, we want to have a sector which is a good return on investment to technology and development, and really the space sector is potentially very, very good tool how to broadly develop the technological areas and knowledge economy in the country.
Thank you so much, Michael. Industry development. Thank you. Yes, Natalia?
Yes, I absolutely agree what Michal said here. And I would like to say that space creates value and it has long-term benefits for all humankind because it covers areas such as public safety and transport, climate, and other sectors. So I would like here also to share some figures how nations started to invest more, specifically governments spent more in space sector. So in the last 7 and 8 years, it has increased from 42 billion USD to 92 billion USD. So it means that more and more countries decide to invest in space and to enjoy its benefits in the long run. In our example, I would say, Azerbaijan when started established its satellite operator, Azercosmos. It started with the program of first telecommunication satellite. And the aim was to ensure information security. Because till now, till 2013, our national TV and radio channels were broadcasted by another third-party satellites. And it was one of the decisions by the government to launch this satellite and to broadcast them by our own satellite. Because the challenges the geography we live in, we need sometimes to ensure our own sustainability in this region. And that's why it started this way, but it didn't limit itself with the information security only, because then we evolved to another level. We launched another satellites and serving different countries. And the coverage area of our satellite, it includes Africa, Middle East, Central Asia, and Europe. And also, besides telecommunication sector, we have launched Earth observation satellite in 2014, and there was a specific state program. In order to implement it, we have been cooperating with Ministry of Agriculture, Ecology, Natural Resources, and we are glad that now we are doing crop monitoring and providing data so that government can make data-driven policy making and decision making. So I would say that we see the benefits of these decisions, and that's why the next strategy is to ensure the sustainability of telecommunication Earth observation services, and meanwhile to build the ecosystem in our country.
National priority. Thank
you. Thank you, Asanda, once again. Well, the main reason why we look at space, how something that can be very beneficial to our country. First of all, I could divide these in 4 different lines. The first one is the economic diversification. As you can imagine, some probably on stage knows that Angola, the economy of Angola relies 100% in oil and gas. And we found in space a way to diversify this dependency on oil and gas. But additional to that, we are also looking at telecommunication as a way of relying on space. Well, we have a lot of problems at the continental level and also at the country level. Just to give you some numbers, Angola currently has 30% of its population with internet access, meaning that there are a lot of people without access to the internet. And this was the main reason why in our space program, one of the main investment was in SATCOM. We started our space program actually looking at solutions to address this digital divide. Well, additional to that, we also understand that natural resource management is one thing that in Angola we really care about. Despite this dependency on oil and gas, we have also a lot of sectors that we pretty much understand that could contribute to our economy, especially the agriculture sector, the mining sector, and the fishing sector. That unfortunately, due to illegal activities, sometimes we see our resources be stolen by foreign people. So we are now currently working with a lot of partners at the local level and also at the national level to address those local issues, rely on satellite-based solutions.
Okay. National priorities. Guys.
Thank you, Sander. Emerging countries have to move from being less industrialized, and it means investing in technological advancement. And therefore, as South Africa, we believe that we can move from where we are through investing in the National Space Program. Secondly, space science and technology is critical for scientific research, as well as research, development, and innovation, which is critical, again, if you want to build an economy that is advanced, an economy that is more industrialized. And thirdly, we believe that once you've done the two, you then begin to look at how you contribute to economic development, including addressing some of the social challenges that you face as a country, and therefore we believe that space can do that. Fourthly, it's of course on issues of safety and national security that space has played a critical role, particularly in providing communication systems, surveillance, as well as navigation capabilities, which are critical for the country. But what's really unique for South Africa is that, one, given our geographic advantage, as those who have had a chance to look at the map and see where we are, that we sit in a position where we can play a critical role in supporting the global space community. And therefore, for space diplomacy, for internationalization, we believe as South Africa that we can play that role, which is very unique for us. But over and above that, what's also unique is that space then, investing in space gives you an opportunity to begin to look at the education for the future, which means that the type of skills and the education that you design has to be looking at what currently the world is going the direction that it's going in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, in terms of where the economy today is, particularly when we're looking at the digital economy. But it's also critical that as emerging nations, as we do that, we begin to look at the role that we can play in our regions and providing leadership for the growth of our region. And as South Africa, we feel that we have a critical role that we can play in the African continent in ensuring that we renew. Some of the key drivers, of course, it's beginning to really look at, what data has done and the demand of data and information in driving our digital economy. And therefore, the relationship that we're beginning to see and the role that space, science, and technology is playing in evidence policy making, as well as in addressing some of the environmental and societal challenges are the key drivers. But over and above, you want to build a relevant national space program that's sustainable, that creates opportunities for the majority of your citizens in your country. Thank you.
A mix, national and international relevance. Okay, thank you. Yes?
Well, I believe that there are two reasons why nations invest in space. It's national pride and national needs. National pride because we would like to be among the nations sending astronauts, reaching the moon, developing the most modern technologies, and national needs because the satellite telecommunication, navigation, Earth observation is today necessary for our everyday life on the Earth. So, and this is valid for big nations, for small nations, for everyone, including Poland.
Thank you so much. How important then is global relevance to your countries? I know most of you. I know it was South Africa who mentioned, the relevance globally, but the rest of the nations, how important is global relevance?
Well, we know that the space sector is absolutely internationalized or even globalized. So, due to its complexity and both when we talk about technology and also the investments that are needed, it makes little sense to do things on your own on a national level, especially when we talk about smaller countries, especially when we talk about emerging space ecosystems. So, to be able to bring to the joint table of the space cooperation and global space cooperation something unique is definitely what countries are seeking and what we definitely are seeking. And this is what makes you relevant. This is what makes you a relevant partner if you are not only coming to the cooperation with, let's say, some duplicity, but on the other hand, with something which is complementary, for which there is a demand.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, when we started to draft our national space strategy, we did some market research on other countries' strategies. And we see that there is a global relevance because we have found some main motifs coming from all those strategies. It was sustainable development, human capital, and also innovation and R&D. So we use these motifs on our strategy as well, and I would say that it is we made align it with UN SDGs because we know that even there is a platform, so how space application and space technologies can make contribution to achieve SDGs. And also we tried to consider other players' strategies to understand where we can fit. And of course, global relevance in that sense is very important because space industry indeed is a combination of international collaboration and international global efforts. And again, I just want to share some figures here that currently space industry is valued around 380 billion USD, but it is prognosticated that it will reach 1 trillion USD by 2040. And it shows that how many nations, countries make investment and try to joint collaborations in that sense. And we are also trying to have our own pie in this global industry. That's why global relevance is important.
Thank you very much. Is that the case still?
Well, Asanda, when we started our space challenge, let's say our space journey, we started from our space strategy that has 5 different pillars. And the first pillar is the space infrastructure. The second one is the capacity building and promotion. The third one is industry and technology. The fourth one is international positioning, and the last one is cooperation, of course, the most important also. By following this approach and this strategy, we have demonstrated a lot of results to our most important stakeholder, let's say. And today we can say that probably one of the main support and the willpower we have to keep and moving forward in the space sector is the support to receive it from all across the sectors in the country. So I can consider that somehow even the failures that we faced throughout this process, but we get it done in terms of getting the commitment of all of those stakeholders. And this is the main reason we are still moving further.
Thank you very much. Mhlekas, since you gave a mix, which one really takes precedence over the other? I know national pride will always, but then how do you balance wanting to be globally relevant and ensuring that the country really delivers on their national priorities through space? Yeah, that's for you. That's for you.
It's for me.
Yes.
So the question is on how we balance.
Yes.
You know, it's a very big challenge for emerging space nations because one is the fact that as an emerging space nation, you have to then find a balance between your developmental needs as well as the balance in the technological advancement or investing in the two, which of course requires a very strong and what I call transformational leadership, because you'll have to be in a position where you can influence, you know, your political masters. But once you have convinced them, that has to be followed, of course, by the commitment, which that commitment means that it has to come with financial resources for you to be able to implement your space program. Sure. And therefore, having to build a very strong investment or business case prior as you work on your either national policy or national space strategy, it's very critical so that you can demonstrate, you know, clear returns and the relevance. In some instances, it will not be direct return on investment, it will be indirect, but contributing to a number of areas. It could be on the issues of national security, as we've mentioned. It could be on addressing some of the environmental challenges, but also critically to ensure that you manage your natural resources going forward. But it's also critical that one then begin to look at how does that also assist in building human capital for your country and so on. So the balance really that one has to find, it's on building a very stronger case and ensuring that you get the support that you require to implement a viable space program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, instead of balancing national priorities against global relevance, I would prefer to find the synergy between them. That means that we would like to develop space technologies first to address our national needs, but then we can export them and then we can contribute to address global needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We know that space nations are forever known to be racing. I imagine space nations racing to any finish line? Or is Slovakia racing?
I would say we go in a steady and dynamic pace, but I wouldn't call it racing. And nevertheless, we definitely see dynamically growing interest among new countries and also new stakeholders to enter the space sector and the space economy more in broad. And this is mainly due to several favorable factors. And one of those is, of course, the decreasing cost of access to space. So it's becoming more and more affordable to have some technology flying into orbit. It's more and more affordable, though, to have some assets that can produce valuable data for you. And at the same time, we are, as a humanity in general, quite good at finding new ways how to utilize efficiently these available data that we are getting from the orbit. So there is both the decrease in costs and increase of interesting ways how to utilize the space assets. And this creates new markets and this creates new opportunities, and opportunities not just for the countries, but also for their industries. So this is one of the motivating factors behind, or the steering factors behind really what we can see in the past decades being the dynamical growth of countries entering the space sector, and also growth in countries, for example, joining COPUOS. And of course, last but not least, growth in countries that have their representation here in the IEF. So tough to say if it is a race, but I would say if it is a race, then we are racing to the common goal.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, Natalia?
I think we know that the second space race started just after when non-space actors entered the space industry, and they started to commercialize the industry, and new space startups and other startups emerged, and we had the second space race that all of us witnessing it. So as a Cosmos, we are not racing, I would say, but what we are trying to do to keep up with all key developments in the sector and to find how we get benefits from it, from all these developments, and to bring value to the socioeconomic development of our country, and also to bring value to other countries and companies that we are collaborating with. So when we talk about new space sector, this is the one niche we would like to enter as well. And for this one, we will be doing many space outreach programs and others in order to inspire our youngsters to see that they can do their own startups in this sector, because there are a lot of opportunities that they can get benefits from it. And also here, I would like to share some figures with you again. We know that new space sectors attracts a lot of investment from not only US, I would say, but from other regions, from Asia, Latin America, and Europe as well. And the value of it was estimated 14 billion USD. And we know that because of the COVID and other, let's say, recessions we are seeing in the globally, it's hard to invest in this sector. But nevertheless, we believe that it will be increased. And For the time being, we don't have any space startups in Azerbaijan, but we believe that such platforms, IEC and other platforms, will play critical role to inspire youngsters and to understand that they can risk their capital in space because it's the sector that is growing.
Thank you very much. And is Angola racing?
So the space race, right? Well, actually, we are not directly in a space race. We can consider the Angola perspective. We are more in a collaborative approach, and the main reason for that is because we know that our results was achieved actually based on corporations, especially in corporations. For an emerging country like Angola, for example, where we have a lot of difficulties, even at educational level, we don't have a lot of talented experts in this sector. We understand how cooperation is important. So we don't look at the space how has a place to compete, but to cooperate, and that's the main reason I say the results we've achieved so far was only based on looking at space and not in perspective of competition, but of cooperation.
Thank you very much. Mhlekazi, is South Africa racing?
Well, on the space race and whether we are to achieve something specific, absolutely. I believe that as emerging space nations, we have much more to offer to the most advanced space nations. As I said, I did talk about internationalization and so, but I just thought I should also just bring this and say, you know, we are fully aware of the term space race, which historically meant, you know, a competition between a few countries. And those were just less than 5 fingers, really, at the time. And of course, that rivalry was driven by political, military, as well as ideological factors. Are we still there? Of course, we're seeing some elements of those today. Do we still want to go back there? It's something that, of course, we have to seriously reflect as we look at the new world order, and where the world is going. I just want to say that today, of course, there is no single space race involving emerging nations in the same way as it was yesteryears. And the beauty of today is that many emerging nations are actively participating in space activities for a variety of reasons, of course. And they may be racing to achieve specific goals or milestones that are aligned with their national interest as well as objectives. And that varies, as I said earlier on, from technological advancement to geopolitics influence, as well as on cultural and of course the national pride that you mentioned earlier on. And therefore it is important that again, as we look at today's world, which has become globalized, which has become interconnected, that of course striking this balance between the national priorities and global relevance is vital. So our space programs need to really recognize the value of international collaboration that can leverage, of course, global resources, expertise, and partnerships without really going back to what the main reasons of why those few countries embarked on the space race. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I don't like the term space race, because the race is that you run to be the first one, okay? And then you win, but then you are tired and then you stop, okay? I think the term long march is much more relevant here because it's not about being the first anymore. It's about to go forward. Therefore, I see the role of our agency completely different than the role of big agencies like NASA, for example. We are not going to follow NASA or to chase big agencies. We would like to join them in their march in the place where they are today. We want to immediately go to the most modern technologies, and we want to develop our own capabilities. And having in mind that our space sector consists of mainly small companies, our role is to integrate them, to make a critical mass for bigger projects, and to help them to address the needs of the administration, the needs of the society, and then to develop technologies so they can export them. So it's a completely different role, and therefore we do not like to participate in the race. We would like to march together with others.
Okay, thank you very much. There you have it then. You just want to keep up, you want to be inspired, you want to grow. So, and you want to march or walk, is it? Whichever one. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the panel. But then we have a list of questions here for you. So I think I'd need volunteers for each question. We hope we can answer them all. We have about 8 questions, but I don't think time will permit, but let's see how we go. The first question goes, what are the best ways for foreign private companies to partner with the emerging space agencies? A taker? Okay, yes?
I can take it from the example that we have, for example, with larger, especially European companies from countries like France, Italy, or Germany. For us, the most interesting way, of course, is to set up collaboration with our industrial entities, so to help them grow, to help them get involved into more interesting and larger collaborative projects. So this is what we try to support as much as possible. That's why we are actively approaching the so-called large system integrators or mid-caps in Europe and helping them understand the ecosystem that is there in Slovakia and the opportunities that are in our country. So it's this way of engagement with emerging space nation is probably the most mutually beneficial because the ecosystem in the emerging space ecosystem gets a lot of new possibilities, also not a little of interesting know-how or transfer, and at the same time the large player gets possibility to enrich their portfolio with some new unique solutions that, for example, they didn't have but they found in the particular country. So this is a very, I would say, balanced approach and a very mutually beneficial approach.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next question is, do any of these agencies have operational spaceports or launch facilities in development? I know someone who wants to talk about that. Do any of these agencies have operational spaceports or launch facilities in development? Or maybe you have plans, do any of... Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Asanda. Again, I just wanted to say on the issue of foreign companies, working with local companies that are, those companies willing to, collaborate or partner with one goal or two goals, which is skills and technology transfer.
Sure.
So as South Africa, again, as I mentioned earlier on, geographic advantage, of course, we have a vision, which is also a vision of our government in South Africa to use our geographic advantage for space diplomacy as well as internationalization, and therefore we do currently working on a program to build indigenous launch capability, but we also are looking at our partners from the BRICS partners and other partners that we work with to really fast track the development of the spaceport in South Africa that will not only serve South Africa, but the region and the continent, as well as the global community, because we believe that we have the best suitable site to provide that service for the global space community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Well, Asada, I would like to give also a comment on how to partner with those emerging space nations, the first question. Well, actually, one of the points when it comes to initiate partnership with emerging nations, and when I say it, I look at Angola especially. We have our own problems in Angola, and sometimes the point is just to understand the problems those African country has and starting a conversation. This is the main entrance. And after that, it's also important to understand the context itself, because there are a lot of solutions that are implemented in many spacefaring nations that doesn't fit at all at those emerging space nations. As said by Mr. Mbulani, for example, technology transfer is the key need in all those, in some of those emerging space nations. This is also the case of Angola. So the point is just try to identify a partner with those countries, understand their problems, and try to reach out in order to start a conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm seeing interesting questions, and they'll be interesting to you too. So I get to choose. Given emerging nations have either been colonized or historically disadvantaged, what is the current state of collaborative relationship in program support? Given that emerging nations have either been colonized or historically disadvantaged, what is the current state of collaborative relationship in program support? How are you being supported now, given that you've been historically disadvantaged or colonized?
I think nobody
Honestly,
wants to
thank
take
you.
the questions because the first one is not very good.
Sure.
So I will give example from our historical point of view. You know that before we get our independence in 1991, we have been part of USSR. But in that time, actually, Baku was one of the space center and the center of the programs of USSR. Even I would like to say that there was Azerbaijani scholars and people heading some space program during that period of time. And in that period of time, there was only one IAC event held in whole USSR area. It was Baku in 1973. And when we organized this event with the leadership of Azerbaijan back then we attracted a lot of interest to Azerbaijan, and there was some facility established after this event, and also the National Aeronautics Agency started to operate in Azerbaijan. So I would say that even if it was the part of this Soviet period of time, but still we had our own engineers working on space programs, for instance, in Soyuz program, and even the head of the Yuri Gagarin's mission was Azerbaijani, Kerim Kerimov. So that's why I would say that we had some potentials back then, but after we got our independence in 1991, of course there was some difficult situation for us. There was some brain drains, etc. But around several years later, in 2010, we started again the industry in Azerbaijan, and with the program of the first telecommunication satellite. We have been always in a position collaboration. That's why I would say that even today's IEC is a true example of the international collaboration that we are hosting it here with all participants from different parts of the world.
So they have been proved. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think we'll take on the last question now. The space effort in developing countries is mainly driven by government institutions. No, but I think we had this one. How does private sector? No, I think we've had that one on private sector. How do emerging space nations balance the need of space for national security purposes and the need to develop space economy?
Yeah, just to add on what my colleague from Azerbaijan said is on the issue of whether we were disadvantaged or colonized at one stage, but of course, the first important thing is to ensure that you invest quite significantly in building your own human capital if you want to participate meaningfully and ensure that your space program becomes relevant. In terms of partnering with those advanced nations, of course, you have to, in this new world or this new norm, ensure that you build partnership framework that's premised on shared values, shared principles, mutual respect, and accountability. On the last question, Asanda, sorry, I lost my line of thought.
It said that, oh, I hope it's not gone now. Okay, how do emerging space nations balance the need of space for national security purposes and the need to develop the space economy?
Oh, again, I mean, that's very important. To space emerging nations to understand that, space, it's a sovereign and a strategic capability, and therefore issues related to national security and so on are critical. And therefore, if you cannot demonstrate that you're going to also play and contribute in ensuring that you're going to contribute to the national security, but also safety and other societal benefit areas, then you'll find it very difficult other than just focusing on national security. But we know that it has been used as a tool for that. But thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've run out of time. We'd like to, we would like to have more engagements on this matter. I think next year we will we'll have to come up with another topic, maybe talking about how we move from emerging to whatever the next step is for these countries. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. And we've heard from the emerging space nations, all they want is mutual respect. All they're doing is growing. They want to keep up. They just want to be inspired. They want to keep on their technological development programs, and their governments are supporting them because of this. Obviously, international relevance is very important to them, but it does not really go above their national needs, and all they're asking for is mutual respect. Thank you very much.